This one's got a dragon. Transformers: The Last Night. That title alone says so much. How far we've fallen. There reaches a point in every series' life where a decision must be made. Do you make another one? When common sense prevails, and greed isn't a factor, usually everyone just calls it a day. At most, after the second or third film, they wrap it up with a nice little bow and move on. That is not what happened with Transformers. Transformers 4 did what a lot of fourth entries do. It tried to reinvent itself. Create a new status quo. Bring in a Mark Wahlberg. It was a box office success. A lot of people saw Transformers 4. A lot of people hated it. Regrettably, the only thing Paramount saw was the buttloads of cash that Transformers 4 brought in. So of course, that meant the public was yearning for Transformers 5. After this long journey of absorbing Bayformers sequels, picking apart each film, really taking it all in, I can say that there are good elements to each of them. Transformers 1, genuinely good. I still love that movie to this day.
Oh, don't be like that. If I had a rock, I'll bust your head, bitch.
Transformers 2 had John Turturro.
One man!
Transformers 3 was absolutely brutal, and I really liked that for some reason. And last we had Transformers 4. That absolute mess. I would say it had an interesting idea. On paper. Not in execution, just on paper. Also Dinobots. With that said, this is genuinely one of the worst films I have ever seen.
Move, bitch, get out of my way! Move, bitch, get out of my way!
Transformers 5: The Last Night fails on absolutely every level. There are worse movies that exist, but I can't think of really another movie, at least one that's this big, that has this much work and money put into it, that fails in even really being a film. Maybe the original Justice League?
My man!
Even then, that was the result of two different visions clashing together, and Joss Whedon being Joss Whedon. Transformers 5 had no production issues. It had no clash of vision. It was just bad. Even down to its very conception. With each movie, we've learned a new piece of the Transformers lore. Turns out they've been here since the pyramids. Alright, cool. Not only that, but they were the reason we had the moon landings in the first place. Okay, that's a bit coincidental, but wait, turns out Transformers were involved with the extinction of the dinosaurs. Okay, that's pretty dumb. But they balanced it out with the Dinobots. It kinda made sense, if you didn't think about it. All of these new additions to the lore are dumb, and obviously are just excuses to have more sequels. But with enough digestion, you can sort of tolerate them. Like a bad cold, you live with it. But I have to say, after all we have been through, after all I've forgiven this series for, I draw the line at wizards.
Hello! It is I!
Gandalf.
Transformers 5: The Last Night begins with a battle. A battle between evil barbarian hordes and King Arthur. Yes, that King Arthur. In the final entry of the Bayverse, we learn that King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table not only existed, but were best friends with ancient Transformers, who gave Merlin the Wizard a magic staff. There's a reason this was the final entry. Transformers 5 is fascinating, and how terrible it really is. I find it so interesting when there are sequels that exist that have absolutely no defenders. And I don't mean in the Rise of Skywalker sequels kind of way. I mean when I asked Twitter what people thought about this movie, a lot either didn't know it existed, or just kind of forgot about it. By the time Transformers 5 came out, nobody cared. The world had just collectively moved on. A shitty Transformers movie was just expected at this point. It got old. So there may be a lot of you who had absolutely no idea that Merlin the Wizard was in Transformers 5. Might have caught you a bit off guard. To that I say, I'm sorry. And it's going to get a whole lot worse.
God, I'm sozzled.
Transformers 5 wasn't meant to be the last gasp of a dying series. It was actually meant to be a launch of a cinematic universe. Yes, really. They did not read the room at all. Look, this was 2016. Everyone was trying to milk their properties. Can't wait for the Dark Universe, by the way. A lot of studios wanted that interconnected universe. They just didn't want to naturally build upon it or give it time to grow. Can't wait to see The Flash, by the way. Now hold on there, DC fans. I can't make fun of you too much. WB did at least have movies that came out, because when it comes to the Transformers cinematic universe, that thing didn't even leave the drawing board. So what we're left with here is a movie that's riddled with sequel bait for films that will never come out. Transformers 5 has such a strange vibe to it. Honestly, it feels dead. These Bayformer movies were once loud and stupid, yeah, but they had an undeniable energy to them. A vibrancy that was energetic, if not obnoxious. But by Transformers 5, that energy is gone. Alright, so there's a combination of things going on here. For one, nobody cares anymore. Even the opening title stopped caring. The movie just opens like this. I did not edit this. They could not have given less of a shit. Bay wanted out like 2 movies ago. The only person that seems to be having any fun is Anthony Hopkins.
Boys and girls, off the sub now! Off the sub now!
Secondly, things are just miserable now. My god, this is depressing.
Transformers are declared illegal on Earth.
Transformers are just outlawed everywhere, except for Cuba.
Castro lets them sun on his beaches.
Classic Cuba. So all of our main characters are fugitives on the run. Humanity just collectively hates the Autobots. You just feel the age with this 5th movie. This thing is barely chugging along. The core at the center of this star has absolutely burnt out. We're looking at a husk of what once was. But it's not like there aren't new ideas in the sequel. There are. They're just absolutely horrible.
What up, fellas? Man, I want to kill you right now.
Our movie begins with a rip-off of the opening battle from Gladiator. They just copy and pasted it. Absolutely shameless. King Arthur and his merry men are fighting a Lord of the Rings battle against barbarians that came straight out of Spirit Halloween. Arthur is losing.
Where in hell is your so-called magician?
He will be here, Lancelot. He swore it.
It's because the wizard Merlin is running late. Maybe his magic alarm didn't go off or something. I really just can't get over the fact that Merlin is here now. Just like Merlin can't get over his crippling alcohol addiction. Now, if you had a keen eye, you might have noticed that the wizard is Stanley Tucci in a wig.
I would give up everything. Everything. I'd give up drink, money, women. Drink and money.
The same guy who was bald Steve Jobs in the last movie. I don't really know why they did that. Maybe they thought it would just be funny. Merlin isn't really a wizard at all. He's just been using the tech from these ancient Transformers the entire time and passing it off as magic. And he's also passing off jokes that are meant to be funny.
I mean it. It's happening down there now. It's awful. Big personalities just sort of clashing and bloody.
What am I supposed to take away from this interaction? What am I supposed to feel here? What a bold way to open a Transformers movie. King Arthur is real, Merlin is real, and he teams up with a Transformer dragon to destroy a barbarian horde. For the sake of the realm and the plot, the Transformers entrust their most powerful weapon to a drunk con man, and the day is saved. The end of the world evil has been defeated. King Arthur and his men have saved England from the scourge of the Saxons. Wait a minute. Saxons? As in those Saxons? As in Anglo-Saxons? I think that went pretty differently in real history. Did Arthur control a Transformer dragon and still lose? How is that possible? 1600 years later, Optimus Prime is dead. Last time we saw him, he wanted to go find whoever created the Transformers. So he took off with his rocket boots to fly through the vacuum of space. Something that we all assumed he'd be suited for because Megatron did it already. He sure seemed pretty confident at the end of Transformers 4 about it. Didn't even make it past Jupiter. Why did he do this? Does he not know how Transformer biology works? The only conclusion I can take away from any of this is that he was just stupid. Optimus Prime was stupid then. It's like how Frodo and Sam took off in a canoe at the end of Fellowship of the Ring, and then at the beginning of Two Towers, they're just drowned in a river. Turns out they didn't know how to row a canoe at all. Oops. So the opening has this exposition dump from Anthony Hopkins about the state of the Transformer world.
Two species at war. Two species at war. Two species at war.
Chicago is still in ruins, despite the last movie showing that it was being rebuilt.
This is an alien no-go zone.
They just sectioned off large portions of the city and turned it into an alien contamination zone. What is an alien contamination zone? I wish I could tell you, because they don't explain it.
You are trespassing in an alien contamination zone.
Transformers aren't like an infection, you know? They're giant robots. What's the contamination? This guy? This place is just abandoned, but the government invented Metal Gears to patrol the area and kill any Transformer they see. They invented mechs before rebuilding a destroyed Midwest city. Was this smart political commentary, or did the writers just want to have this happen? Vote on your cell phones now. These kids are just wandering around this zone where they can get killed by a Metal Gear. Luckily for them, Rey from Star Wars is here to save the day. If there is one thing Transformers 5 loves to do, it's just take ideas from whatever was popular at the time. Let's have this plucky scavenger girl who survives in the ruins, alongside her little robot companion. Let's have a plot that centers entirely around knights and medieval imagery, because Game of Thrones hasn't crashed and burned yet. Let's have a character montage, just like Suicide Squad.
Suck your brains.
This movie is the grease trap of 2010's pop culture. Alright, to get back on track, we do actually get an explanation for why the contamination zone in Metal Gears exist. It's to have a set piece for Mark Wahlberg to fight in.
It's all I got in my bag of tricks. You might want to hop in.
Isn't Cade Yeager just so cool? I'm sure glad Shia LaBeouf is dead. Wait, what? B and Cade get surrounded by this movie's bad guys, the Transformer Reaction Force, or TERF. They're like Cemetery Wind, but controlled by the military, and not by Frazier. When could Autobots do this? I didn't know this was physically possible for them. Probably would have helped Jazz out to know that. Marky Mark gets this talisman from a knight who crash-landed in the zone. We later learned that all the knights are in a ship that's been at the bottom of the North Sea. So the main question now is, what was this guy doing here? Why was he flying alone with an important talisman? How did he get shot down only to crash land in Chicago? Well, these questions can actually be pretty easily explained. The writers needed Cade Yeager to find it and for the plot to begin. Oh yeah, there's baby dinos now too. Who could forget about the baby dino bots?
No, but you're coming into your power now, right? So you gotta blow the phone. Ah!
It's like that movie Pre-Hysteria, but shameless and corporate. It also doesn't have that rad 90s vibe.
It's Madonna, Paula, Hammer, Jagger, Elvis.
Yeah, I can't really segue into this, so I'm just gonna say it. Cybertron is gonna crash into the Earth. It's being flown across the galaxy by an evil space witch called Quintessa. She jumped in the driver's seat and is flying right towards the Earth. Quintessa's had too many strawberry daiquiris. Somebody take her keys. Hey, maybe Optimus will. He crash-landed on Cybertron in the most violent way possible.
My world. What has happened to my world?
Optimus, what the fuck are you talking about? You were there. You were one of the central reasons for why the planet is like this. You lore dumped that back in the first movie. Maybe that crash gave him a bump on the noggin. Optimus has some amnesia. Imagine if more of these movies just kept getting made. We could have had Transformers 8, Primenesia.
What have you done to my home?
You dare to strike your god?
Alright, so she says she's his creator, but just by the name alone, and what quintessence are in the Transformers lore, I can imagine that they were going to later reveal Quintessa is actually a fraud. But we never really get that reveal because the storyline died after this movie, so spoilers for Transformers 6. Quintessa's still strong enough to imprison Prime and brainwash him, because Optimus is stupid, and he doesn't plan ahead. Anyway, back on Earth, Cybertron is coming closer, and these horns just keep popping out of the ground. The Decepticons are pretty interested in them, and so is the TRF. The military wants to access whatever the talisman is that Mark Wahlberg got. That's cool. Wouldn't it just be in everyone's best interest if you stopped making Mark Wahlberg a criminal?
Hey, you know there's a reward for turning you in.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool, you want to get punched in the face like really hard?
Why don't you just stop making Autobots illegal then? Like, wouldn't it be in everyone's best interest if you both got along? No, of course not. Humans can't get along with Transformers. Too much has happened. Let's just team up with Megatron instead.
I want my crew.
Give me names!
Moa.
Just hearing Megatron say,
I want my crew,
is something else. Just like any other crew, Megatron's buddies, who we've never heard of until now, are in federal prison, and he wants them out. So of course, we need to introduce each of these Decepticons in a montage. A montage that is a blatant ripoff of the Suicide Squad movie. That one. We're really past the point of no return.
Bank robbery. Aggravated assault, murder, double murder, triple murder, 9 dead. Didn't even take the money. No.
Quick side note. What are the politics of this world? So, humanity hates Transformers now because this happened. Something the Decepticons were 100% responsible for, before the Autobots would defeat them. But your average person can't tell the difference between an Autobot and a Decepticon.
Reduced to melting evil old Decepticons down.
No, that's an Autobot there.
So everyone blames all Transformers because this event was just that traumatic. Except not really, because Frazier was actually killing the Autobots against the American government's wishes. So he was just kind of going rogue and had his own personal vendetta against the Transformers. Then Frazier died. Alright, but by Transformers 5, now all Transformers are illegal, so both Autobots and Decepticons are being hunted again, even without Frazier. People hate Transformers more than ever, and if a nice Transformer even shows his face once, he gets killed on the spot. But you know, I kind of get it. This was such a traumatic event, people would respond to aliens in this sort of xenophobic way. There is just no toleration for Transformers anymore. So after all of that, you cannot tell me that the Decepticons were just arrested and put in jail.
The government requests that he does not leave the county.
What the hell? How are these guys not scrap metal in the streets? This guy didn't even do anything. Optimus and Bumblebee have their faces plastered on posters everywhere. This gentle giant just bleeds out, yet the demon monster has a rap sheet.
Assault, murder, double murder, triple murder, 9 dead. Didn't even take the money. No.
Why are they charging this thing with murder? How are they charging him with murder? Did he go to court? Did he get a defense lawyer? I'm actually curious. Why are the Decepticons getting arrested while every Autobot is just exterminated on the spot?
But I'ma kill you later. Definitely gonna kill you and both folks later.
He's cleared!
What are the rules in this world anymore? They were just so eager to introduce characters like Mohawk, Dreadbot, Berserker, Onslaught, and who could forget my personal favorite, Nitro Zeus.
I know where you live, Enrique. Say hello to your wife for me.
Nitro Zeus is a treasure. As much as this breaks the last bit of consistency these movies had, there is one positive from this. The Decepticons, for the first time, actually have personalities.
A dying knight gave it to a human.
You need a bigger door. Gonna miss you, Tim. Thank you for your hospitality, Brad.
Decepticons are kind of goofy morons. When you have a faction of backstabbing assholes, the main people they often backstab are each other, and they don't even do it in a clever way. For most of the Transformers canon, Megatron's real job is just babysitting an army of children. Like really selfish children.
Tell me what exactly is going on?
Allow me to handle this.
It's Knockout's fault! Precisely my what?
Your standard Decepticon is a dumb idiot goon. I love them. Finally, after all that setup, the Feds and the Decepticons decide to go mess up the Autobots. First real fight of the movie. Things are gonna be insane.
Decepticons is in the street. The only one in here. Ah, this ain't right.
All that hype to introduce these characters, and they die in a shorter time than the montage. The movie actually did one right thing. These Decepticons, they had personality. I like what they did with them. And then they all just die. What if I liked Onslaught?
You need a bigger door!
Wonder what his deal is.
And his fat head.
Holy hell, these guys could have just been background Decepticon fodder. But no, the movie had to copy Suicide Squad.
You need a bigger door!
So now I'm kind of slightly invested, and then our heroes just execute them all in the middle of the street. Why would you do that?
Bigger door!
After beheading their enemies, our gang runs from some federal drones. These drones are the main fight, by the way. The Decepticons did absolutely nothing. They all scamper into an abandoned skyscraper and decide to hide in a random elevator, coincidentally running into this little robot goblin man.
Hello, Master Cade. I have been sent to collect you.
So let's break down what just happened there. They run into this building, sprint all the way inside to get into an elevator, and the robot butler just happens to be in that same elevator waiting for them. How did he get there? Was he waiting there knowing that was gonna happen? After platforming off some drones, Butler guy tells Cade he needs to go to England, UK. Like right now. Marky Mark just leaves everyone behind and goes to England, UK. And that's where the rest of the movie is now. Sorry if you liked Ken Watanabe Bot or John Goodman Bot, they're shafted for most of the film. If you expected a Transformers movie with actual Transformers, I'm sorry, bucko. All you're gonna get now is Anthony Hopkins and his psycho butler.
But I do so very much want to crush his windpipe.
About an hour into this film, they decide to introduce 3 new main characters, so I'm gonna just list them off. First, there's the love interest, Vivian Wembley. You couldn't make up a more English name if you tried. Old Viv is an Oxford professor who doesn't believe in the whole King Arthur myth. She uses dumb things like actual history to back up her beliefs.
Arthur, a likely composite of a Roman general and a Celtic king.
Considering Michael Bay's track record with these movies, Viv is like the only female protagonist who isn't sexualized. And yes, that is counting the 17-year-old too. Hell, Mark Wahlberg is more sexualized than her. I actually kinda like Viv. She's okay. Then we have the robot butler Cogman.
Stop it! What?
I know the art style's taken such a drastic turn, but he doesn't even look like he'd be a Transformer. Is he a Transformer? So I don't know how many of you would know this, or care, but Cogman is voiced by Jim Carter, which if you've ever seen Downton Abbey, you would know he plays the kind but stern butler, Mr. Carson.
I've never been called a liberal in my life, and I don't intend to start now.
Now, Mr. Carson is just one of the most wholesome characters in all of fiction. And because of that, I know what the writers were thinking. I know they thought it would be funny if they took Mr. Carson, this symbol of high-class refinement, and just turned him into a batshit insane robot.
You are not leaving us in this tin can with that 4-foot mental psychopath. I don't think so.
I prefer the word sociopath. Don't kill the messenger, or the messenger will kill you. But I do so very much want to crush his windpipe.
Lady Grantham would be appalled. Last but certainly not least is Anthony Hopkins.
No whoopee, Mr. Cade?
He is both the best and worst part of this movie. He is absolutely not trying, but still manages to outperform everyone on screen.
Yes, but you want to know, don't you, dude?
Most of the time. Sometimes I think he just forgets he's being filmed, and he just looks like a confused old man. Hopkins was meant to play this eccentric noble, descended from a long line of complete and utter lunatics who committed suicide in a variety of inventive ways. What?
Great-great-great-great-aunt, she posed my great-great-great-uncle for some reason. She's barking mad, she's an absolute bitch.
Hopkins doesn't come off as eccentric crazy. He comes off as stab you with a knife crazy. Like, this is just an insane man. Both him and his butler are sociopaths, and they kidnapped Mark Wahlberg.
They're all around us, and I just have so much road rage!
Actualize the rage, that's it!
Hopkins isn't really a character. He's meant to be that prestige British voice that narrates the real character of Transformers 5. The extended lore. As you see, his character, Sir Edmund Burton, is the last member of a secret organization. the Order of the Witwickens.
No sacrifice! No victory!
The Witwickens are the secret organization that has existed since the days of King Arthur. Throughout history, they've not only known about the Transformers, but have been actively covering up their existence.
That's the watch that killed Hitler. Don't screw with it.
So each sequel has just placed Transformers into a historical event and said they were responsible. We're finally just getting it all over with. Every single important event, every single important person who has ever lived was a f***ing Witwicken. Abraham Lincoln knew the Autobots existed. Harriet Tubman too.
The great Empress of all Russia, General Washington, William Shakespeare, Queen Elizabeth of England, Abraham Lincoln, the Wright brothers, Churchill, Einstein, Stephen Hawking, Leonardo da Vinci.
This movie just got the Olympic gold medal in shark jumping. They changed the sport forever. So why the name Witwicken? Is it tied to Sam Witwicky? Is his family somehow named after the Order? The movie doesn't explain anything, so I had to look it up on the wiki. And the wiki says that so many Witwickies were a part of this order, that's how it got its name. But then there's only 2 Witwickies listed on the wiki. What? Yeah, Sam's grandpa Archibald Witwicky was a key member of the Witwickens apparently. He even used their whole mantra for his family's personal motto.
No sacrifice! No victory!
So I'm just a little confused here. If Archibald Witwicky was tied to the Order, why did he not know what Megatron was? Why did he call him an Iceman? He never wrote in his journal what a Transformer was. He was even put in a mental asylum because he lost his mind. Was it just a coincidence that he was descended from a secret order and also happened to be in the Arctic to fall into the ice? Would he still be a Witwicken if he didn't fall into the hole? And if those glasses didn't get laser blasted and passed down to Sam Witwicky, who then tried to sell them on eBay 100 years later, causing him to meet Bumblebee, would Sam be a Witwicken? The answer to all of these questions is, well shit. We didn't think about that. I guess they just thought the name was cool.
I was making the moment more epic.
Just be quiet. What's the matter with you?
With this stunning revelation, I think we can finally put this whole Bayverse lore into perspective. So just bear with me, we'll get back to the shitty movie later. With this being the last Bayverse movie, I think it's only fair to line up the timeline that the writers have given us. 65 million years ago, aliens blew up the dinosaurs to make Transformer metal. They then used the cube to bring the robots to life. Transformers killed the dinosaurs. Millions of years later, the Transformer Primes find Earth and then fight a whole war because one of the Primes, the original Decepticon, tried to blow up the sun. Transformers built the pyramids. Thousands of years later, the Autobots and Decepticons fight a civil war on Cybertron. Cybertron is destroyed, and the cube is lost to space. Sentinel Prime made a secret agreement with Megatron to rebuild Cybertron, but his ship was blown up and crashed on the moon. Transformers caused the moon landing. Megatron tries to find the cube, locating it on Earth, but crash lands because he's just a goober and forgot how to fly. Well, also, 2,000 years ago, Transformer Knights who weren't tied to Autobots or Decepticons also came to Earth, and didn't care about finding the cube or Megatron. They just wanted to hide from the Space Witch and help King Arthur defeat the Saxons, which he didn't even do. Then the Knights just sort of stayed around the whole time, influencing every major event in human history, and there were a bunch of other Transformers that showed up too, but they all looked like poorly photoshopped palette swaps. They were in the Revolutionary War, Napoleonic Wars, World War I. Did Optimus know about any of this?
We cannot let the humans pay for our mistakes.
Why are you feeling guilty, Optimus? Transformers have been here for thousands of years. Alright, well maybe Optimus didn't know because these knights are more ancient than him. But then Optimus called himself a knight in the last movie.
Recognize one of your knights.
And he's seen as an equal to them later on. How did Optimus not know if he was also a knight? Was he stupid? What were the Transformers doing on Earth this whole time? I thought they were just here for the Cube, or even the Matrix. But it seems like they just wanted to help out countries in their wars. Did these robots care about British tax law? I mean, they did care about Iran's nuclear deal, so who am I to talk? Now look, I get the trope that secret societies can do a lot in the media, but how do you even cover something like this up? It's not like this was some ancient time of legends. This is just a Napoleonic battle. A robot's just standing there. Imagine being in a World War I era trench, and the tank in front of you just transforms. Nobody ever mentions it again.
It's a long way to Tipperary, it's a long way to go.
I love how little they tried to make these robots seem natural in the pictures. This guy isn't even a car from the time period. He's very clearly a 2017 Lamborghini. They stopped the movie for a good 2 minutes just to have this dumb little teaser.
Helped turn the tide of war.
Watch Bumblebee defeat the Nazis. Man, I can't wait to see the summer blockbuster to see some wacky World War II robot fights. I think the less that's said about this, the better. So, this order has just existed forever, but now, Anthony Hopkins is the last surviving member. Yeah, you heard me right. Last surviving member. Sam Witwicky is canonically dead. What happened to him? Did Frasier get him in the last movie? Did he walk into oncoming traffic without Bumblebee there to save him? The possibilities are truly endless, so make your own theory. Either way, Bumblebee seems pretty unfazed. With Sam dead, Viv is the last surviving heir of Merlin the Wizard. I just wanted to watch a movie with cars turning into robots, man. That's all I wanted. Optimus Prime gets brainwashed by Quintessa, and he's just bad now. This was the one thing the whole movie was marketed on when it first came to theaters. Optimus is bad! Oh no! This was supposed to be the gimmick that got butts in the seats. And, spoilers, it gets about as much screen time as Grimlock did in the last movie. I guess it's a running tradition by now to just lie to the audience. The gang steals a submarine to get to the sunken night ship at the bottom of the sea. It's a race against time as Cybertron has arrived close to Earth, so they have to go get Merlin's staff. That's the MacGuffin. Wait a second. A planetary body slamming into Earth. Why does this sound so familiar? The gang and the TRF race to the ship, where they finally get to the staff. And nobody planned on the Knights being alive, though. Whoopsie. Luckily for our gang, the guy from Fortnite is here to save the day.
I've come.
He did what?
Optimus is bad now, so him and Bumblebee get into a little slap fight. A tussle, if you will. And after a Fonzie smack to the neck, Bumblebee regains his voice.
I am Bumblebee, your oldest friend.
That was not the voice I was expecting. When I think of B, I think of him as younger and more spunky.
Yeah, for a submarine.
Sorry I'm late, hit a little traffic.
I didn't expect Bumblebee to smoke 3 packs a day.
I would lay down my life for you.
Upon hearing this beautiful voice though, Optimus gets sent back to the side of good. His evil arc lasted a full 5 minutes. What a movie. All the Knights come over to teach Optimus a lesson about being a big doofus. He repents for his sins, and they all forgive him cause Mark Wahlberg has the Master Sword or something. I don't know. Do you care by this point? Is anyone here? Everyone's friends now, and they all team up together to stop Quintessa.
I believed in one of the great ones, Optimus Prime.
They all frolic through a field, and then the rest of the movie's just a big dumb action sequence. Look at that. That sure is some action.
Sting like a bee.
The day has been saved. Not a single person got hurt. Oh wait. And that's the plot of Transformers 5, The Last Night. Oh, and Unicron was Earth the entire time.
Next we have...
The Last Night is both utterly forgettable and kind of unwatchable, so it creates a unique viewing experience where nobody ever remembers what the fuck happened. And there's a few reasons in my opinion why that is. For one, the editing. I don't know what was going on with the editing here.
Whatever they are. Chinese call them horns from hell.
Oh my god. Cybertron is coming.
What?
There are so many strange decisions and outright mistakes that were just left in. A lot of times shots will be cut together too quickly.
Want my crew?
Give me names!
Like what was that?
Want my crew?
Give me names!
So many lines are obviously dubbed in.
Hell.
Oh my god. Cybertron is coming. Pangea, the supercontinent.
It's the same shape on the round table.
But while the writing is bad and the editing is amateurish,
Genius!
the absolute worst thing about this entire movie is the aspect ratio. Bay decided to shoot with both IMAX and regular digital cameras in the same scene, and then just never bothered to change anything about the aspect ratio. So the entire movie has these black bars that constantly fluctuate. This is on top of an already shaky camera for every action scene. So by the final fight, it's actually nauseating to follow. When I mean this movie fails in really being a movie, this is what I mean.
Wretched human!
I just imagine this movie's being held together by duct tape and strings. 2. The characters. One big problem here is that there aren't really any Transformers in Transformers 5. They show up for sure, but they're even less of characters now. Hound and Drift barely say anything outside of a few one-liners. Bumblebee is nothing more than mascot set dressing, and Optimus spends most of the film chained up. Even the Decepticons barely appear. I think what really bothers me with Transformers 5 is that it has nothing to do with the conflict between Autobots and Decepticons anymore. The main fighting is just against the military, or a planet. Megatron has been reduced to a yes man to Quintessa. Hope you like Cogman, because I'm pretty sure he has more lines than every other Transformer combined. Anthony Hopkins just hijacks this film to say exposition. Exposition that only he fully understands.
Genius!
He's just there to tease the greater plot of what's to come. The big fight between Unicron and Quintessa, and then it just never happens. If you didn't know by now, I'm a Halo fan. I saw what 343 did to Halo. Every story decision that ended in failure, and all of it culminated in Halo Infinite. Now in Halo Infinite, the campaign introduced a new threat called the Endless. The whole campaign, every character just beats it over your head about how much of a threat the Endless is. By the time the campaign ends, we never see the Endless. We don't know what they are, or what they can do, and we never will, because Halo Infinite failed. There isn't even a novel about what the Endless are. It's just a dead plot point, in a series already full of dead plot points. It's fascinating when that happens in a series, when a story becomes so unpopular by the public that its creators just give up. All those seeds already planted, left to wither and die. With Transformers 5, we were given the biggest seed of all. The Earth was Unicron all along. I wonder how that would have ended. Maybe the ultimate conclusion to the series was Unicron transforming. He transforms and ends human civilization. The last human survivors then live on Cybertron. We'll never know how it ended, but that's my personal theory. One thing this movie tried to do was harken back to the first one. It brought back the original theme, brought back familiar characters, like this guy, and even brought back that stupid Witwiki motto. But all it did was just show how hollow this series was now. Or at least a certain aspect to the series. The Bay aspect. So remember when I said that the Transformers cinematic universe died? Yeah, you probably know by now that's only half true. This movie was so bad, they had to course correct. So in a way, it did have a positive impact on the franchise, like how a forest fire is positive for a forest. The Last Night burnt it all down. But you know, in this landscape of gray ash, old ideas began to regrow. Perhaps after 10 years of Transformers movies that were trying to be the edgiest thing possible, we could start to get movies that weren't ashamed of their source material. And if you think about it, is there not some honor in being that sequel that led to better things? No!
Dragon Tales, it's almost time for Dragon Tales. Come along, take my hand, let's all go to Dragonland.